Leeds, Leeds, Leeds. What is happening? Welcome to Working Hours, a show about a place called Leeds, a time called now, and an activity called work. Working Hours wants to record 1,000 loiners over the course of this, the most important decade in the history of the human species, and ask them what they do all day and hear how they feel about it. My name is Simon, and this is all my fault. What did you want to be when you grew up?
The things that stick out for me, there was two things that I really remember. And I remember my brother used to draw pictures of me. One was I wanted to perform at the Royal Albert Hall, which is kind of specific, and I have no idea why. But I remember my brother drawing pictures of me standing on the stage at the Royal Albert Hall. So I guess, yes, I always wanted to perform in some way, whether that be singing or acting, etc. The other thing, which is kind of random, is I think that's because I didn't really know what it meant, is I wanted to be an environmental health officer.
Okay.
But I think that's because I thought it was to do with the environment.
Yeah, you check in the health of the environment.
Yes, yeah. I was brought up in Brighton, so I've always had green-leaning tendencies, and I think I thought it was kind of a job about the protecting the environment and that kind of thing. And I actually ended up, for my work experience at school, I ended up going and working with Brighton Environmental Health Department for the council, which quickly put me off it.
I was going to say, yeah, quickly put you off the notion.
Once I'd been out with the rat catchers and the dog catchers and the ones that shut down restaurants and stuff, I was pretty much done with that idea.
You're listening to Series 3, Episode 9, and to my guest, Lucy Meredith. This is another Zoom interview recorded on the 27th of April, 2022. Evening, colleagues. Lucy Meredith is self-employed and a professional mermaid, teaching mermaid classes at Bramley Baths. She also has a background in synchronised swimming. Lucy's work is in the arts and she is self-employed, so she has many different jobs, her main one being as co-director of Yorkshire Life Aquatic CIC, that's otherwise known as YLA, for the rest of this intro, an arts and wellbeing organisation. YLA run community performance projects and have a comedy physical theatre show that they perform at festivals. Lucy acts as YLA's co-director, project manager, performer, choreographer, and the list goes on. Lucy also does freelance acting work, works for 2 local climate charities and a community-led housing organisation. All Lucy's roles are part-time and in the third sector. Lucy's roles for these organisations are based around comms, events, and social media. To find out more about Yorkshire Life Aquatic, go to www.yorkshirelifeaquatic.co.uk, and to find out more about the Human Aquarium, go to humanaquarium.co.uk. Okay, so what is it that you're doing now?
This is going to be quite a long one because I'm self-employed, and I've just tried to make a list of how many things I do at the moment, and it's about 7 jobs.
One for each day of the week.
Pretty much, yeah. I suppose my main job is because from my background, so my background is in performing arts. I ended up in Leeds because I came up to uni and stayed, as many people do. And I did performing arts degree. Not that a lot of my work now isn't related to that, but I've still clung on to parts of it. So I run a community interest company called Yorkshire Life Aquatic, which is a kind of performance, art, wellbeing with an environmental kind of skew on it company. And we do like lots of community projects where we teach people dancing. I'll just give you the background on the name though, because obviously, So I'm a synchronised swimmer, an ex-synchronised swimmer, and I kind of had to retire, as you do, from competitive synchronised swimming when I came up to uni. So at 18, and I didn't really come back to it for years. And I got asked by a theatre company in the region. They were doing a play set at a swimming pool, and they asked if I'd come and do some synchronized swimming as part of that performance, which was Chol Theatre and Slung Low, based in Leeds. And I forgot how much I enjoyed doing that. And I thought, I'm going to try and join some kind of local swim team or something, and discovered that unless you want to compete and be competitive, and I'd be up against like 12-year-olds who were miles better than me at the age of 40 or something. So I didn't really want to do it competitively anymore. I just wanted to do synchronized swimming for fun, just make up routines and stuff. And I found that there was nowhere to do that. So I kind of wrote a ranty blog about it, saying that, I may as well do it on dry land. And a choreographer called Zoe Parker replied to me on Twitter saying, that sounds like a really interesting idea. I've been thinking about choreography and water and things. So we met up, and I wanted to do synchronized swimming in the water, and she liked the idea of doing synchronized swimming out of the water, and that kind of where it came from. We run a water class called Bramley Mermaids Club over at Bramley Baths, which is kind of our home, our official home. And then we do dryland synchronized swimming for festivals. So we do it's kind of, I don't know if you know Esther Williams, the 50s movie star that she was always in these amazing, like massive budget Hollywood films that I used to watch as a child, where there was some reason they would go into like a massive water scene with about 30 swimmers in, like out of nowhere. But it was always some kind of tacked on weird thing in the plot line where she happened to do a massive number in a swimming pool, which I always thought was awesome. Reading her autobiography, it wasn't so awesome to film, apparently. Okay. But so we kind of took that element of like Busby Berkeley choreography and the kind of craziness of the modern synchronized swimming as well. Like, people, when you watch it in the Olympics, their faces are like absolutely ridiculously contorted, and it kind of came across as quite amusing. So we kind of developed like a comedy show, dance show that we go to festivals with, and we all wear spotty swimsuits and just turn up in the market square of Knaresborough or something like that, and do this weird act that nobody's ever seen before, kind of thing. We've got a few more festival gigs coming up this summer, like Ripon Festival and things. So we get booked a lot for like vintagey type festivals, which is really good fun. So, and we do projects with like community groups. So, and go to Bradford and dance in the mirror pool and things like that. So that's one kind of
that's one job.
That's one job. And occasionally we get booked to be mermaids. We've got nicknamed the mermaids. So we decided to invest in some mermaid tails. And so now we get booked to like swim in people's pools at children's parties and things like that. Make little girls' dreams come true. So that's pretty fun. We kind of, another part of the organization is to look at kind of environmental issues. I don't know if you've seen the documentary called Blackfish, which is about an orca in SeaWorld that attacks a trainer, and just goes into how horrendous it is for orcas to be kept in these concrete boxes when they're actually really family orientated animals, and how cruel it is. And it kind of, it set me off on this very angry kind of tangent about wanting to do something about that, and which turned into a project called the Human Aquarium, where we kind of took our mermaid personalities and created an aquarium kind of where you could kind of look at, I suppose, the word. You look at the mermaids as sea creatures, and trying to get people to relate to captivity and the oceans in a different way. So we took over a shopping unit, I think it's HMV now, in the St John's Centre, and turned it into a giant aquarium. with like looking at like ocean plastics as well, where you made lots of sculptures and stuff out of recycled bottles, and had workshops there and talks about the environment. So that's a kind of another side of it, which is kind of still ongoing project because it's kind of my baby. So I'm sure that'll be carrying on for a while.
So do they sort of generate their own revenue then, or do you need to get funding for those? Or
the Human Aquarium so far has been Arts Council funded. They funded us to do stage 1, and we're kind of looking into stage 2, but we haven't got funding sorted out at the moment because we've just been really busy with everything else. And COVID kind of put a bit of a kibosh on getting out and about and getting projects done.
Yeah. I'll come back to COVID, so we'll stay on this because otherwise we'll never get through your other jobs. So
sorry, yeah.
What else are you doing as well?
I run another project called Tea Intolerance, which is an arts related project where we have like the idea of just people learning to communicate a bit better and just taking a bit of time and sitting down and talking to each other. So that's with another 2 artists. We worked together and we kind of came up with these really like open questions that we could take round on a tea trolley and at festivals and events kind of thing, and just get people to sit round and answer questions like, what does it feel like to be vulnerable and things like that. Just, we do it at lots of different events, and people say it kind of feels sometimes a little bit like therapy without the, but quite therapeutic to just chat to people you don't know and kind of be given that space to talk about things you may not, deeper things that you may not talk about all the time. So that's a kind of another ongoing arts project that I run with 2 other artists. That's my kind of arts side. On a side note, I've just done carbon literacy training with the Carbon Literacy Project. And apparently I am the world's first carbon literate mermaid. I don't know whether that's true
cool,
or not, but that's what they've said. I said, I'll take that. Thanks. I've got an agent, so I do a bit of acting to try and keep my hand in I suppose, regular performance kind of stuff. So did a few commercials now and again. It's a little bits of acting work. I'm also a medical role player. So when the doctors are getting trained up for their exams, they get in actors to act out their symptoms and kind of mark them on their bedside manner. That's another of my interesting jobs.
Is that just at like Jimmy's or something, or?
I work for Leeds University for that. So we'll go to different hospitals and things, but yeah, mostly based up at the uni. I've also worked for a couple of zero carbon charities. So when we were starting Yorkshire Life Aquatic, there's just 2 of us that run it. So you kind of have to learn to be a jack of everything. So we had to learn on our feet a lot about, finance and websites and business models and things like that. And I kind of took on the kind of social media, PR, comms kind of work. So had to kind of learn about websites and writing press releases and this and that, which is, not my forte. And I'm completely self-taught on that. I have no training now really, but you kind of, you have to kind of learn. So I've got I look after about 10 Twitter accounts now for various companies that I work for. So I work for a couple of climate charities. One is Climate Action Leeds, which is, I believe Simon, who on another podcast was talking about that, I bet. And so I work for them through another organization I work for, which is Leeds Community Homes.
Okay.
And that's a really interesting company. I mean, I have no background in housing at all, but I came on to do admin and comms and marketing, and I've kind of developed more into like helping with events and things like that. But they actually do community-led housing, which I didn't really know what it was until I started working for them. But they actually help people in the community to build their own houses, so that they actually help. We have lots of advisors who kind of work with local groups and help them build their own communities, which is really nice. It does take a very long time, but but
when
it's kind of
done,
offering
it's done.
support, which is really exciting because there's one just about to, well, being built in Chapeltown. So I think they're about to move in quite soon, which is really exciting. So through the housing work I was doing, I now kind of seconded to Climate Action Leads as their housing partner.
Yep.
So looking at things like how to retrofit your house, how to bring down your energy bills by making your house as efficient as possible, which is obviously a really massive issue at the moment with the energy price rises and everything. And yeah, just trying to bring everything down to carbon zero or make houses, because there's so many houses in Leeds that it's mind-boggling of so many different varieties. And some of them are just have no insulation at all. And, you know, it can go from really amazing, you know, passive houses up to big Victorian drafty terraces and things like that. So just trying to address that issue as a kind of a connected city, because it's such a big thing.
Yeah.
And I think it's quite scary as what might go on next winter if we don't kind of start to get on top of that problem with people just, you know, living in freezing houses.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not even it's not even the future anymore, is it? It's like, you know, it's horrible. It's horrible now, and it's going to be worse in the future.
Yeah. It's kind of like, what can we do before next winter?
Well, that's it.
Make sure the people aren't dying.
Yeah, it's not like the crisis is around the corner. It's the crisis is already here, and it's only going to get bigger unless we start addressing it, kind of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's loads of stuff. So I mean, is it all? So that's not going to be 9 to 5, doing all of that on a regularized basis where you've got nice, neat windows and everything scheduled. Is it like loads and loads of hours one week and then maybe no hours another week? Like, how does that kind of break down into your actual working?
So I do 2 days a week for Leeds Community Homes. I do 5 hours a week for Climate Action Leeds. I work Zero Carbon Yorkshire. I do a day a week. And my other stuff, the company stuff that kind of works around it. I teach mermaids on a Sunday as well. But we're doing a project at the moment for Leeds 2023, the City of Culture. So we're do one of the community projects. We're working in Bramley because that's where we work a lot. And that culminates in an event that's this Saturday in Bramley. We're doing a We Are Bramley Acts of Defiance walk and talk event on Saturday. So the other stuff is, all my kind of artsy stuff is project based. So it kind of fits in around everything else I do. But fortunately, all my jobs are pretty much quite flexible. As long as you do the work, you're not held to, like you say, like the 9 to 5. Yeah. Like, so I function better in the evenings than I do in the mornings, let's say. So you know, sometimes I work later rather than earlier.
I mean, are you working that way because that's kind of how it's panned out? Did you take on the other roles to support the CIC, or did you get the other roles because of the CIC? Like, or is this, is it just how it panned out, or is this the kind of flexibility that you actually wanted from your work?
I like the flexibility and I like the opportunity to do lots of different things because you don't get bored. But I suppose I'm a realist. I know that I'm not going to make all my money out of the arts. I'm just not. So the other roles, I suppose at the start, I just wanted to make sure that I had something stable. So you've got a stable minimum, and then other jobs have come out of that through word of mouth and me getting involved in like climate issues. I suppose what I wanted to make sure I do was have plenty of work, but also make sure that it's work with good people that are doing good and that have got charitable aims and things like that. I didn't really want to end up working for people whose ethics I maybe didn't approve of. So I suppose I surround myself with organizations that are in the third sector.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask this question of you. I don't normally ask it, but I'm just thinking, so why not politics? Why, you're doing all this good kind of civic work and community interest kind of stuff. Why did you think about politics? Have you thought about politics? Like, why didn't you go into being a counsellor or something like that?
It's not something I'd ever thought about, to be honest. But I tell you what, I do know a lot of counsellors, and they work so hard. It is so much work and so much effort, and I take my hat off to them, because I don't think I quite got. I mean, like I do lots of things, and I think you have to be so dedicated to that, and you probably take a lot of grief off a lot of people as well. And I don't. Maybe I'm a bit too scared to put my head above the parapet in that thing, that kind of arena, I think.
And you've got,
I'm made of strong enough stuff.
Yeah, you've got to brand yourself with a colour as well, haven't you? And kind of pick a team. So I as I say, I've never asked that question before, and I thought it's like, it's quite a good one to ask, because I have talked to quite a few people who are doing a lot of really good work and putting a lot of effort into the city and stuff, and it's kind of like, wouldn't you guys be great in politics? And it's like, well, yeah, probably, but that's why you're not in politics. Okay, so you kind of touched on a little bit how you got into this. So, I mean, was it the way around that the CIC kind of came first, and then you got those other roles around?
Yeah, all my current roles. Yorkshire Life Aquatic came first. I think when I came out of drama school, I kind of thought, oh, I'm going to make a living being in other people's plays, and kind of reality hits you pretty quickly that you're not going to do that. So you end up taking a lot of temping jobs in offices and this and that. And I nearly got caught down the route of working in pensions for a bit. And I had to just quit and get the fear to make myself go kind of back into the arts, and I did a bit of touring with schools, companies and things like that. But I kind of found that trying to get work from other people, it's quite hard. So I decided to create my own work instead. And even if I have to have other jobs alongside to support myself whilst I'm doing that, then that's fine by me, kind of thing.
At least
as long as I'm always
you're interested in.
Yeah. It's like I kind of knew that I wanted to do my own work, and it's much easier than trying to get employed acting jobs from other people. It's a pretty cutthroat world. So,
So, what kept you in Leeds then? Were you not tempted to sort of go down to London or even Manchester? Of like, if you're looking for acting work, when there's bigger audiences and bigger budgets and more going on in a lot of ways?
I think some of it is down to laziness. I'll be honest. Again, you have to, if people who are working as what I refer to as, normal acting roles, they work so hard. They travel all over the country, go into these auditions, cattle calls in London. And I just thought, I'm too old. I can't be bothered with that. So I thought, I don't mind kind of being at this level where I get the odd commercial and little acting job. And I get to sleep in my own bed at night rather than spending half the time on a National Express coach going to London.
Yeah.
So, I guess it's kind of laziness, but also I feel like I'm part of the art scene here, and I feel like I kind of I've got so many friends here and so many connections now that I suppose I feel like if I went somewhere else, I'd be a very small fish.
Yeah. You've carved out your niche, and no pun intended with the small fish. But yeah, you've carved out your niche, and you've also, you kind of made the decision to make it work for you rather than you working for the industry, working your butt off for the
Yeah.
industry for perhaps nothing. You made the industry work for you in a way that works for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that. Excellent.
So let's go back into the dark times and let's talk about lockdown. So, like, I would imagine, because the business has been going a good few years now, hasn't it?
Yeah, about 7 years.
Yeah. So talk us through kind of going into lockdown and your thoughts through that period of like, I mean, was it, oh, we'll just close down and hopefully come back? Or was it, we need to stay present, or what we're going to do? Or like, how did it go?
I remember we were just about to, we were supposed to be going to Brighton Festival to perform in a pool, in, it must have been 2019, I guess. And we kind of had to make the decision, do we take a large group of performers down to Brighton? And it was looking like things were getting shut down. I think it was February. I think we made the call that we needed to not do that performance. So we kind of started to be a bit more cautious. And we were teaching at the pool every Sunday until the official shutdown of the pools, which was a bit devastating because we see a community group of awesome women who love that 1 hour a week to just be themselves, because a lot of them are mothers and things, and they don't get a lot of free time, and they just love that just hour a week to be, have a good time and have a laugh and exercise and stuff. So, and what we didn't want to do was lose that connection with everyone. So we pretty quickly learned how to use Zoom. I mean, I wish I'd had shares in Zoom before. We quickly kind of, we got a little bit of support for the company from Leeds Community Foundation, who fund some of our work. I think there was some emergency grants for small companies, and we used some of that to get a Zoom account, and we did dryland synchronized swimming via Zoom.
Awesome.
Which did not always work, but the results were quite funny. We've got quite a few hilarious videos out on our YouTube channel now. Because we just didn't want to lose the connection, and we didn't want people feeling that like they were alone, and things like that. So we actually kept up through the entire lockdown, a session a week, from one way or the other. And then when it started to come out of lockdown, we started to meet and have the occasional, like in the park, have the occasional kind of face-to-face kind of thing. But mostly it was on Zoom for the whole of lockdown. And I suppose, I think that's one of the benefits of it, is that we can still kind of, we adapted to it. And now we've got this technology that's really useful for like doing like things like this. And
it's kind of perfect for it in a way that, like, because I talked to someone else who was doing sort of digital theatre pieces, and obviously, it's harder to do that before it, theatre turns into television or something like that. Whereas with what you're doing, specifically like dry land synchronized swimming, is kind of perfect for Zoom. It's kind of like you could do that, get the whole world synchronized swimming.
It was pretty ridiculous, but it's fun. And it's a bit annoying when you're trying to play music and all be synchronized when you've got a lag and people are doing things at different times. But it kept us connected. So it was, like I say, we made some really silly videos and
organized chaos.
And it meant that other people could join in, actually, because we had one of our mermaids who moved down south, and she kind of reconnected because we were on Zoom. She could come along to our sessions and stuff. So it kind of opened it out to people in the wider community who ended up coming. That was good.
Do you do any still? Have you done any, like, post lockdown Zoom?
Not recently. because we were so delighted to get back in the pool, we immediately did a really swanky video of us doing a routine. We did when Bramley Baths opened back up, we did a special performance for their grand opening.
Nice.
Being their in-house swimming company.
Yeah.
So that was quite fun. So we were just really pleased to actually be back in the pool. I'm sure we will do some more again. They were pretty funny, and now we know how to use it. It's great.
So in terms of, so you said you picked up a lot of social media and stuff. Do you do, like, are you doing everything? Are you doing choreography and then filming it, or do you have various people that come in, or does it depend on, what the, I want to say project for want of a better word, but what the project is?
Yeah, no, totally. Myself and Zoe, we do performing, choreography, directing, producing, most things. But with certain projects, we really like to collaborate. I'm not a photographer, I'm not a filmmaker, but I know a lot of amazing filmmakers and photographers in the region. So for the Human Aquarium project, in my head, I wanted these huge kind of pictures made of like mermaids washed up on a beach and things like that. And so we got in an amazing photographer, a friend of mine, Tom Martin, who happens to live in Leeds as well. And he was really excited about coming in on the project. And so, and we worked with, we did some filming in a tank. There's actually a mermaid tank down in Nottingham that we managed to get our hands on. And we went with a filmmaker, Wayne Sables, who's based in Doncaster. He came onto the second phase of the project with us, and we had people doing like behind the scenes filmings about the project, but that's definitely not mine or Zoe's area. So we just like to bring people in. We had some like eco artists that come in because and made like these big jellyfishes out of like waste materials and single use plastics and stuff. So yeah, we like to collaborate. We're always looking for people that share our weird vision to come in and work with us.
Okay. So, and obviously coming out of lockdown is, you, as you said, was great to get back into the baths, and even had your own special opening. So I'll move on from that. I'll go on to the UBI question. So if you had a universal basic income, so you had the money to kind of pay for your bills, pay for your food and so on, cover your basic needs, would you still work? And if you were still working, would it be in the same sort of area? And would you work as much? Like, how do you think it would affect your work as it is now?
I would still work, but definitely not as much. I'm just not really motivated by money. I know everyone says that, but I'm like, I would definitely still do all my arts-based stuff because I do it because I love it. Probably less of like the admin based stuff. But I definitely want to carry on with the projects that I'm doing. Because we're a CIC, we're a community interest company. Our whole ethos is a not for profit. As long as I can pay my bills and my rent and stuff, I'm happy.
Yeah. And
I mean, it's nice.
Have a certain level of standard of living as well on top, but yeah.
I mean, I definitely couldn't afford to live back down in Brighton. When the house prices as they were up. But I mean, I consider myself quite lucky. Really.
I mean, would you end up losing more money? Would you be ending up spending more money on art projects that didn't necessarily make money back? If you had that comfortable floor to fall back on.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I think, my dream would be to have my own swimming pool, which would definitely be a massive drain on money. Yeah, I mean, there's so little access is available to swimming pools because they're so expensive to run, especially at the moment. There's pools at risk of closure all over the place.
Mm.
Because they're incredibly expensive to run. But so I mean, if I had loads of money, I would definitely want a swimming pool that we could kind of use for classes and things like that. That would be lovely. That's the only reason I'd want more money.
That's a good answer. I like that. So I'm going to move to the climate change question because of what you just said there with the pools and stuff. So, I mean, the question is basically around like what you can do in your work and whether your work can do anything to address adapting to climate change or to recognizing, mitigation for climate change, anything like that. Like, how green can you be in your roles? I mean, obviously you're doing lots of climate action work, but I suppose on the swimming pool side, I mean, should we be all moving to free swimming, or do we need chlorinated big heated pools? Do we need more Lidos? Do they justify their carbon budget in and of themselves? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
I think I do think swimming's really important. Not only because children need to learn to swim, because you don't want children in a position where they can't swim or fall in the canal. We've got a lot of rivers and canals in Leeds, and actually back in the day, Bramley Baths used to offer free lifeguarding training to young people because so many people were like drowning in the canals. This is talking about a long time ago. This is a story I've been told.
Like when it first opened, sort of thing.
Yeah. I think swimming is really important, and also as an form of exercise. If you've got an injury or something and you can't you can't do running and things like that. Like I've got a really dodgy ankle, and I just can't put too much weight on it. So for me and a lot of other people with like injuries, swimming's a way of exercising and keeping yourself healthy without having to like put loads of weight on your knees and things. So I'm pretty biased when it comes to pools. So I will say they are necessary, but we need to find a way to make them more eco-friendly. And there is a way. Bramley Baths has just had a new eco kind of boiler put in. Things like, this is a bit of a weird pipe dream, but like if you think about places that have got like loads of computers and servers giving off all this heat, why can we not find a way to then heat the swimming pools with it or something? We just need to get a bit creative with things. They need to make pools. There needs to be a plan to make pools as carbon negative as possible. And like in your gym, can you not like use your bike power to generate electricity and things like that? And these are all a bit crazy ideas, but
no, not really. I don't. I think a lot of the, when it does get round to solutions actually being implemented on a large scale, a lot of it will be like small contributions sort of back into the grid. And I think a lot of the solutions are kind of, you need like thermal dynamic engineers and stuff to be able to move that heat around and the whole sort of thing. Have you ever read the Buckminster Fuller's book, Critical Path?
I haven't.
No, have you heard of him?
Yes, I have.
So yeah, I mean, it's a weird book. Like why you would read it? I read it because I'm weird. But he's talking about, in terms of solar, when you've got one side of the world in darkness, while the other side of the world's in light, it's like surely their light should be powered by, the light of the sun being pumped around to there, and surely the grid should be connected up globally and things like that. I don't know how feasible that is realistically, but that makes sense on a lot of levels to me. If one side powers the other, well, we're facing away from the sun, the other side facing the sun. Why
they're not like using there's solar panels in the Sahara or something. I think there's ways of getting around it. I mean, to be honest, there's a lot worse things than pools around. If you think about aeroplanes, for example, that would be my port of call for trying to bring down the carbon footprint, because that's a massive issue, particularly in Leeds.
But yeah, and swimming pools have their own hierarchy as well. Like Bramley Baths, quite good, absolutely much better than a swimming pool on a cruise liner, for example, or a vanity infinity pool on the top of a skyscraper.
Exactly. Yeah. I think we just need some really awesomely clever people to work out how it's thinking creatively, isn't it? How are we going to make these things carbon neutral? There must be a way. There must be a way.
I think the problem we're having at the moment is how do we get people paid to do that kind of work?
Yeah. Issues that I've come in my roles that kind of coming out is supply chain.
Yeah.
Like thinking about people trained to do these things, and we know we're going to need these jobs. We should be training people up right now. They should, to do these things.
Well, that's it. Yeah. We have a skills shortage in this economy. Never mind the next economy.
Yeah, things like obviously working in housing and climate, looking at people who are trained to retrofit houses, which is going to be, there's not enough people doing that work. There are pockets of amazing people and amazing projects in the city, but just not compared to the amount of work that needs to be done.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, a lot of it is policy change as well. It's, and money. We're just not getting the money to actually make these things a reality at the moment.
Yeah. Or there isn't the market there for them to make money. Or the market's not necessarily being created. It's like, okay, maybe there's an appetite, but there's no place, like a centralized aggregate kind of place to go to market,
Yeah, at the moment, for me, it's all about connecting all the stuff that's going on together, so that because it's going to be a concerted effort from every industry to tackle this. We can't do it on our own. Everyone needs to be on board.
Yeah. And you can't do it with massive, huge corporations working against you or other massive centers of power.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So, that brings us neatly onto another nice media hot topic. So, I have a question on Brexit. So don't worry, we'll get through all these happy questions. So, has Brexit changed your work at all? Is there anything that you've noticed in how you're working and the kind of work that you're doing that Brexit has changed?
It's changed the industry.
Okay.
A lot. Obviously, touring is a lot more. It's a lot harder and a lot more expensive. I think because we're such a small company, we've actually been very lucky in that, we haven't had that much work cancelled. We don't travel that far, so it's not impacted us too much. But I've got a lot of friends who, for example, work in the music industry, who have been devastated. COVID and Brexit together has just been the worst combination. But getting permits to tour is now it's been made incredibly difficult for touring musicians and lighting designers and that kind of industry, touring theatre. It's really devastated the industry. Like I say, we've noticed things like getting certain, if we need to get something delivered from outside of the UK, then it's more expensive or it's harder. Brexit caused, so many delays in getting things into the country that we did feel that a little bit. I think took us quite a while to get one of our mermaid tails into the UK. I think that's a bit of a first world problem though. But I have seen a lot of people around me in the industry suffer massively because of Brexit. I hadn't attempted to leave the country since it happened, so
no, not that you would have had many opportunities either.
No. But I'm wincing for the first time I actually, have to deal with that.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So next question is social media related. So obviously you're doing a fair bit of social media. So the question is really around like how much time it takes up of your work, and also just to kind of consider what is the benefit of that? Like, do you think that it's a real benefit in terms of the time put into it? And does it pay back that time invested?
I think initially it's more work. I suppose once you get used to it, like things like I use TweetDeck, so you can kind of connect all your accounts together, and that makes it quite a lot quicker once you've got the hang of it, and you can connect your accounts together and this and that. That kind of takes the onerousness out of social media, because I do look after a lot of company accounts for different organizations. I don't mind it. It's quite, I think you've got to kind of choose the ones you like and stick to it. I wouldn't attempt, for example, everyone's like, oh, you need to get on TikTok. I have no desire to do that and spend any more of my time on social media than I already do, because it is a bit of a sinkhole, isn't it? A time sinkhole. And I should probably get off it. I need to take Facebook off my phone, for example, or something. But when you're running lots of business accounts, you do need to kind of have it. It's a bit of a double-edged sword. You need to kind of be able to do things on the go quickly, or if you're sitting on the bus or whatever, you can get some work done by just doing a few tweets and this and that. So I try not to let it take up too much of my time, but we found it really useful. Just your basics, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Really, I don't really want to be at the cutting edge, because I think if I did try to take on more, different accounts like TikTok and Snapchat and whatever else there is, I'm not down with the kids enough to know. That would probably drive me a bit mad.
Well, I mean, a lot of that's chasing your own tail, isn't it? Because it's kind of, trying to be cool. And, the problem with being cool is as soon as you reach the pinnacle of being cool, you start being uncool.
Yeah. I think, sometimes you get approached about, oh, do you want to be an influencer? That sounds like a lot of work that I'm not prepared to take. I'm not really bothered about having 5 million followers and stuff, as long as, the people I need to communicate with are, communicating with me, and you keep it fun.
Yeah, that's it. And most of the time people are following accounts like that because they want certain specific bits of information, or they want to keep in touch of like what's going on. So it's not like they're waiting for your hot takes about every piece of thing that's trending.
Yeah. I don't think anyone's that interested in my opinion. So, yeah,
I mean, there might be, but you have to package it and all that time building the audience and so on.
Yeah, no, I there's a limit to my patience with it. So I kind of like keep it as what's useful, and then I'm not going to make too much effort with what I don't find useful or I think is a bit overkill, because you can bombard people with stuff and then they just delete you because you
well, that's it. Yeah. You putting people off because you're banging on about the same thing too much or too often. But then at the same time, if you just bang on about the same thing, then you're going to get more followers who are just interested in that. It is a trade-off. You have to kind of like, you have to, it's one of those things, I suppose it's like swimming, isn't it? You have to find your own kind of ability level and comfort level with what you're doing and what you want to get out of it.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, it all links. So I'm imagining from what you've said that quite a lot of those roles, and especially like the admin and stuff, you're not in an office, you're working from home. Is that a fair guess?
Yeah. A lot of it I was working from home anyway, and then obviously COVID kind of made one of our companies give up the office because we're so small, it wasn't worth the amount. So occasionally we hot desk in the same room or something, or have away days and things like that. But yeah, mostly it's from home, which is, I think it's kind of, it's helped in some ways because I can get more done because I'm not traveling to a building, spending 7.5 hours there and then traveling back. I can be a bit more flexible about when I do the stuff that I do, and I can be more reactive. So if I'm only working 1 day a week for one job, then you're going to wait another full week to get a reply from me. Whereas I split the days up. So I do a bit of each thing each day just to make sure that I'm more reactive and things get done quicker. So it's benefited in that way, but it does mean the work-life balance tends to suffer. I'm not particularly good at separating those two things at the moment, which is something I need to work on, I think.
No, you're normally quite good at separating them.
I think being freelance, it's always going to be a problem because you can never quite, it's not like you're in an office, you're walking away from it and you don't have to think about it again till you get there, back there. It's here, it pops up, it's on my phone, it's this and that. I try to go swimming like about 3 times a week, and that's kind of my downtime. And I've got a kind of set
that outside of working. That's
outside of work.
Well done.
Yeah. Christmas holiday, but I try to say Friday mornings is my time.
Yeah.
Because I do tend to work better in the evenings, and that's fine. So sometimes my evenings may be working, but I'll take, half a day off on Friday and go swimming.
So do you think have you settled or can you settle into a routine? I'm kind of asking this because I'm been banging on recently that what I'm doing is not work, because although I'm interviewing people and this is where I actually get to engage with someone, and this is the fun part of doing this. But the rest of the time I'm just sort of, locked in a room, firing things into the internet going, hello. And unless you've got someone else there, even a writer that's working on their own and it's sort of secluded away somewhere, they're responsible to a publisher or an editor or something eventually. There's someone that's that's there making that work. And the whole sort of when you switch off and having time off and how much time you should put in and kind of motivating yourself, all of those kind of things. I'm at the point where I need to get out of here and kind of actually be actively involved with people in real life doing stuff. And I think, that'll be beneficial for the podcast as well. But is it something that you've settled into in terms of learning, this is when I work, this is when I'm productive, and I do keep this time aside? Or is it always just been it's always the same? You just kind of get up, do what you can, do as much as possible. Some things are regular, some things are irregular.
I think I go through phases of being really, when you are strict and you do compartmentalize times, it is better. But then over the winter, when it's been a bit colder, it kind of, I'm in my kind of spare room office thing, but then you're like, oh, but it's warmer in the front room. And then you end up kind of under a duvet and generally less productive. So, it's not my forte, to be honest. Being disciplined and and productive like that. If there's someone out there who is good at helping people with that, I would be very interested. Someone could make a lot of money actually helping all people to become more productive whilst juggling many jobs. Yeah, I'm not particularly good at it. I need to kind of learn and get a bit more disciplined, I think.
So on the first one I did of these, we were chatting briefly about, because I'd started in November 19, and I was saying, because I'd been working up to that point, I was in a temporal and I'd taken some time off. I went down to the London XR thing and then I came back and then I kind of started this. And it was, we were discussing the winter and how I was enjoying winter because I wasn't working. I didn't have to get up to an alarm clock in the dark and come home in the dark. I got up when I wanted to, and sometimes it was dark, but that was fine. I didn't have to rush out anywhere. And then I could enjoy it. And it was quite bright and nice at the time. So I could enjoy the days and stuff. And I was like, why do we work the same amount all through the year? That's not in any way sensible. Nothing else does that. We we have seasons. We should be working less in winter. Do you really think that you should be more productive in winter, or do you feel that that's just kind of the social pressure that you should be?
Looking out the window when it was like hailing, the weather's been ridiculous, hasn't it? In the last few months or something, and kind of feeling quite like jammy and lucky that I didn't actually have to leave the house and I could sit and work without, literally get up and work without having to journey anywhere or face any of the cold. I actually would prefer to do more work in winter from home so that I could enjoy the sun in the summer.
Yeah.
I think having a summer holiday from your job I would be so much happier because you'd be actually getting some vitamin D, and I live near the park and I could go and like sit in the park. Whereas it wouldn't happen if you had to take your laptop. I'd be like, oh, I'll just do it and then go out. But, I suppose if it's freezing out and you don't want to go out, I'm more happy to work in winter.
Do you have an office space then? Do you have like a sort of separated room for it, or do you just work in the living room or where?
I do have a spare room. It's a little bit cluttered at the moment. I need to go to the tip and get rid of like it's my walk-in wardrobe as well, but I kind of started turning it into an office during lockdown. And so I have got a desk and a space. It's not the warmest place in the house. So
right. Do you actually have a space, or is it just a theoretical space? It's a desk with boxes of stuff on.
It's a desk. It's an actual desk with a window and everything.
Cool.
And an office chair.
Yeah.
But it's also got loads of other stuff in it as well, like sewing machines and clothes and every piece of paperwork I've ever owned. Piles of leaflets and flyers for shows that we can't do at the moment.
What do you think is the strangest sort of random kind of skill that you've picked up from the work that you're doing or have done?
Ooh. I mean, dryland synchronized swimming is one that I mean,
that's a very specific and unusual skill, yes.
And I really did not think that I would be a professional mermaid. So holding my breath underwater, I did not think was ever going to pay. Just did not think that was something I would ever actually be able to make money out of. So I suppose that's a quite useful skill.
I should ask you about this actually. So why, I mean, I suppose you kind of answered it, but setting up your own business is I mean, it's a particular step. Again, it's like only certain people do that. And obviously you probably wouldn't have gone into that blind. I mean, you would have known that, the majority of companies fail and all of this kind of stuff. So what made you take that step? I mean, do you already had enough kind of custom and things going on that you were kind of like, yeah, there's a business in this, or did you just take the plunge? Sorry about all these bugs.
I kind of didn't really know what was getting into it at all. I suppose we didn't have like money coming in all the time.
Yeah.
We get money through projects. So we don't have any overheads really.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't have an office. Our official home is Bramley Baths. That's our business address. And we obviously, when we work from the pool, that's us working from the pool. But apart from that, we've got such, low overheads that it's quite easy to keep it going at a really low level, even when we haven't got a project on. And the mermaid classes have been running for like 7 years as well. But what I did at the beginning, because I was like, how do we sell this business to anyone? It's not the kind of idea that people take seriously in business terms. So I got a place on the School for Social Entrepreneurs, which is a scheme run by Lloyds Bank that you've got to be a social enterprise. You've got to be, you need to be a social enterprise by the end of the course kind of thing, which is like a year-long course, which looks at, business, all the stuff that I don't like doing, the business side of it. That's not my bag, but
the bureaucracy.
If you're in a business, you have to.
Yeah.
So I kind of learned quite a lot from that. You get mentored and things like that. And you got some startup money, which paid for our like first website and things that we couldn't have afforded off our own backs. So it was a really good way to kind of get set up, get your company status sorted, get support in that, and learn about business planning. It was quite a rigorous kind of process to go through to get onto this course. It was quite a lot of people up for it, and there was about 10 places, I think, per year in the Northeast. And you had to go in and pitch to like a board of like 12 people from Lloyd's Bank in suits, and that's so not me. And it had been raining, and I remember you get like I think it's a 3-minute pitch.
Yeah.
And it had been raining, and I was wearing these like luminous turquoise welly boots, and I just thought, oh, they're going to laugh at me, and I just went in, and I think that they I must have said something they liked, because they took me on, and they said it was like the weirdest idea they'd ever heard, but they liked it, so they gave me a chance, and yeah, it's still paying off. We're still here.
Cool. Well, long may you reign.
I suppose we've never really kind of looked at ourselves as being this money making scheme. It's not about the money; it's about making work and keeping it. Bringing enough in to keep it ticking over, and being able to pay ourselves a little bit. But it's kind of it's not. We're a social enterprise. We're not in it for the money. We just want to do what we want to do.
Have you done any like wild water, any outside, in rivers, lakes, anything like that?
We took the mermaids. We did have a trip to like a wild swimming kind of location before the pools reopened during the summer, just to wet the whistles, as or so to speak. So we have done a little bit of that. Some of the mermaids we have like swim all the time, like every day during lockdown. They've been in some form of wild water. But I mean, I enjoy it, but I am a little bit a wuss when it comes to the cold. So I'm more of a seasonal one than an all year rounder.
So you're not going to be jumping into the Serpentine or whatever on New Year's Day?
No. I did get a wetsuit because I thought, oh yeah, that might be a nice idea, but that was
still do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Again, this is just a kind of out of my interest kind of question. What's been the hardest part for the business? I mean, was it the lockdown, or has there been was it the first couple of years, or?
I think, well, we were trying to kind of, I suppose it's the hardest thing is explaining kind of what we do and why we do it.
Yeah.
Because it's really an odd
like
idea.
The pitch. Yeah. Yeah.
And I think businesses, in inverted commas, or, corporates, let's say, they just, because they can't see the money, they don't quite understand it.
Yeah.
So I think we kind of struggled with, how do we describe this kind of project? And I suppose we had to kind of figure out the different strands of the company. So we've got our kind of more corporate side where you can buy our show and we come and perform for you. That's our product. And then we have our community side where we call it health through stealth. So you do exercise, but you're having a good time, so you don't notice. So it's kind of, we kind of talk about it as exercise for people that don't want to exercise.
Yeah.
It's kind of more putting the element of creativity in.
Yeah.
Kind of takes your mind off the fact that you are physically doing something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it makes it more fun, and it makes the process a lot more kind of engaging and kind of person-centered.
Yeah.
And I think what we do is quite original, and we don't really want to turn it into something that's a profit-making thing, because it's about having the best experience rather than making money.
So you wouldn't package it as a franchise and sell it around the world to people?
I'd rather not. And so far, nobody's nicked the idea. As far as I know, we are the only synchronized swimming team that does it kind of creatively and not competitively. We are a non-competitive team. I think I'd be worried about doing that because you don't know what the quality is going to be like. You don't know. Someone just goes and nicks your idea and does it. You don't know what they're going to do with it. So I think we're quite happy being small. I'd love to do some more classes, but as I said before, pool time is so rare and valuable, and because there's not a lot of swimming pools in Leeds that are particularly accessible. So and everyone wants in, and obviously you've got the schools in, you've got clubs that are training. So it's pool time is really hard to come by. It's like gold dust. So we at the moment we only get 1 hour with our class in the pool every week, but it's an awesome hour.
Pools at a premium.
Yeah.
So there was a question that I missed, which is my change question. So I have a question on what would you change about your work? So if you could change any 3 things about your work, what would you change?
I'd probably like to work a bit less, just because, time's precious, isn't it? And it'd be nice to have a little bit more free time. I suppose I would, like we said earlier, I'd probably make myself much more able to do works in chunks and be better at it, at making it. I can't think of the word. But,
so it's maximizing that time.
Like
peak efficiency.
Efficient. Yes, making myself more time efficient. I think that would be definitely something I would like to do. And I suppose if it was a more sellable model and I could make more money out of the art side of it, that would be something I would like.
Do you do merch? Have you ever done like Bramley Baths, mermaid t-shirts or anything?
We have actually. We have mermaid hoodies. Have mermaid written on the back and our logo on and stuff. So yeah, we've got mermaid hoodies and t-shirts.
Excellent. Are they available from your online shop?
We did look into having an online shop, but it never it was just another thing to have
more bother than it's worth.
Yeah. So I mean, the people that usually buy our things are the people that take part in our classes. So we usually do kind of an order and get what everyone wants at the same time, and then can sell them, at cost to people, rather than, again, it's not about profit.
Okay, so I'm going to start winding it up. I'm going to ask you to give me any sort of socials that you want to kind of put out there. And then I will throw it open to you if there's anything you want to add or anything that we've not covered that you'd like to talk about. So yeah, over to you.
I suppose, well, if you want to follow me, I'm Lou Loves Glitter on Twitter. And our the company is Yorkshire Life Aqua. That's on Twitter. And we're Yorkshire Life Aquatic on Facebook. If you're interested in being a Bramley mermaid, put Bramley mermaids in. They're kind of what they say on the tin, really. And the Human Aquarium project is Human Aquarium UK. And it's all the tweets and the Facebooks, really. But we're usually pretty good at coming up on Google if you Google us.
Excellent. So is there anything that you think I've not covered, anything that you want to talk about or anything you want to promote or?
No, it's been very nice and flowing.
Yeah, I'm not to put you under pressure. I'm just quick speaking to this microphone.
No, I think, we've got loads of projects. We're going now to Brighton actually next week.
Okay.
For the show that we couldn't do in 2019.
Very nice.
Exciting.
Yeah.
It's a very small version, but it's quite a small pool that we're performing in. But we're performing for an amazing artist called Ruth Mulvey, who actually came up during COVID at some point and painted us. So we are actually in a painting in an exhibition, and we're going to go and she focuses a lot of paintings on women and a lot of women swimming as well. So things like that. So we ended up in one of the paintings. So we're going to go down and do our Brighton Festival show after 2-3 years or something. So that's going to be quite exciting.
Yeah.
It's live. performing.
Yeah. It's a sort of sandwich between the two. You're like, yeah, it's nice and poetic, kind of close that loop.
It's like, I suppose, and because it's Brighton, I feel like it's a homecoming show for me, and my mum and dad get to come and everything. So they're quite excited. Because they tend to miss quite a lot of my work.
But that's it. You're miles away. This is why you need the social media, so your folks can see what you're up to.
Yeah, that's what everyone says. They just they know what I'm doing through Facebook. So
thank you again to Lucy for being my guest. Thanks again to all my guests, and thanks to you, Leeds, for being my subject. And of course, most of all, thank you to you, my dear listener. Come back next week and hear me speak to a candle maker. I have yet to interview a butcher or a baker. So if you're one of those, get in touch. If you're listening to this, I assume you have some connection to Leeds, like living here or being from here. If you're such a person in Leeds or from Leeds and you haven't done your recording for working hours yet, then don't wait. Email me now, right now. Quick, get a pen. workinghoursPod@western-studios.com. If you fancy being my guest, put guest in the subject line of your email and add a short bio in the message. Stick in some suggestions of your availability and I'll send you a release form and a Zoom invite. If you'd like to be on working hours, I will need a 2-hour window for us to record in. I can record in your work time or during your downtime. I have been recording interviews for working hours for over a year on Zoom, but I can also record offline. You can appear on working hours anonymously, or you can promote yourself and or your company or brand. Cleaner or owner, what is your experience? How do you feel about work? What do you like and not like? What do you do, Leeds? Be a part of local history, have your voice heard, share your wisdom, give us the inside skinny. This is your show, Leeds, and it's all about what you make of yourself. Do you know what you're doing? If you do, then come and tell me all about it. Come on working hours, even if you don't know what you're doing. I certainly don't. Email me right now. Quick, get a pen. workinghoursPod@western-studios.com. If you're allowed to do that, that is. If you're not allowed to do that, then tell me why. If you and your business aren't ashamed of what you do, then let's hear all about it. What good are you doing the rest of us? Are you socially useful? Am I? Is this? Send your feedback, questions, comments, and queries right now to workinghoursPod@western-studios.com. What is happening, Leeds? Find out by following this show on Twitter @WorkingHours3 and on Instagram @WorkingHoursPodLeeds to find out when new episodes are going to be released. Or just use the hashtag #WorkingHoursPodLeeds on either of those sites to find me. I'm on Facebook, facebook.com/Western_Studios_Leeds. I'm also on LinkedIn, linkedin.com/IN/Simon-Treen. Treen is TREEN. Or you can go to my company page, which is linkedin.com/company/Western-Studios. If you want to make a podcast in Leeds, whether it's for a cause, a publicity campaign, a product promotion, or your own passion project, then get in touch with me. Western Studios for support, advice, and guidance on anything podcasts. At Western Studios, you work with a real life loiner who is actually in Leeds, who you can actually work with on making podcast content. So don't wade through articles and videos and podcasts about how to make podcasts. Just get on with it. Western Studios can make your podcast with you or even for you. Western Studios can take on your podcast's boring, time-consuming, and painful admin, recording, editing, transcription, whatever. Tell me about it. I feel your pain. For a charge, I'll share it. Writers, what are you doing with your lives? Hopefully you're writing. Well, I know there are listeners out there who want to hear great original writing performed as audio content and made in Leeds. How do I know this? Because I'm one of them. Help me make Muck for Brass, a series of short stories, poems, performance, whatever, all published as podcast content. Is your work arty, salacious, pulpy, strange? Good. I want to make it a podcast. I get practice making the show, and you get a finished, performed, and published version of your writing. Businesses, campaigns, brands, got an inkling that you'd like a podcast but don't know where to start? Hit me up at makemypodcast@western-studios.com and we'll start making your podcast straight away. The first hour of arranged consultation and pre-production time is free. So what do you have to lose? And what are you waiting for? Save yourself the hassle and the headache and make your podcast with a Leeds-based, in real life, podcast producer, that's me, Western Studios Leeds. Once again, please let Working Hours get big and strong by joining its Patreon. Support Working Hours by becoming a champion on Patreon for £1 a month. You can inspire me and motivate me with a membership and maybe one day even be helping to cover all my costs. You can chat to me there and see me do a monthly live stream where, again, you can chat to me all about the show and, God, do I need to find someone to actively share this project with? Go to patreon.com/working hours pod right now and sign up, please. And or go to Ko-fi, that's ko-fi.com/working hours and join me there for £1 a month and get access to the Working Hours Discord and chat to me there. I will be putting up additional material on Ko-fi once there are any members there. Please do remember to like, share, follow, and subscribe to this show. Every little bit helps. Tell your gran, tell your housekeeper, tell your gardener, tell your parole officer, tell your boss, tell Leeds, and I'll see thee next time, our kid. Working Hours is presented, edited, and recorded by Simon Treen for Western Studios Leeds Limited. The music was The Bees from Chopin's Etudes, which is in the public domain and was taken from museopen.org.